Have you ever had a hard time moving on with God when life gets rough? Behind me here is a picture of the farmyard that I spent a lot of my younger years on. In fact, after we were married, Sarah and I moved into that house and we took on the business of farming, but also raising our children. Our oldest son was 6 months old when we moved there, and it was also into that house, when our second son and our daughter were born that we brought them to as well. And that was home for them. So as I look at the picture, a lot of good memories come to mind. But there are also some memories that are hard to bear. Because in just a few years after we started farming, the economy turned for the worse and very quickly eliminated a lot of younger farmers in particular, which included us. But it wasn't all bad. Even those hard to bear memories had some valuable life lessons within them that we learned and that we remember. And one of those lessons in particular involved seeking God's face, calling on Him, listening to His voice, and following Him as He walked with us through this difficult period of time. Now, we wouldn't have said so at the time, but since then we've often described this time in our lives as one of the hardest and yet one of the greatest experiences of our lives. Why? Because for one thing, we learned hardship. And another thing we learned is that we needed to work the very hardest at staying close to God. From the King James Version of the Bible, in Psalm 138, verse 8, David wrote, "The Lord will perfect that which concerneth me. Thy mercy, O Lord, endureth forever." David here acknowledges God's ways with man according to what He has ordained. And then he also prayed, "Forsake not the works of thine own hands." So here is a confidence in God and a dependency on God expressed. David had learned, as we often do, that he could depend on God and have complete confidence in God to do what God had promised. In Philippians chapter 1, verse 6, Paul also expresses that same confidence in God in what he is doing in the church of Philippi. Paul wrote there, "For I am confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will perfect it until the day of Jesus Christ." Now, there's often a tendency on a personal level, when things get rough and difficult in life, to create a distance between us and God. But, and you've probably heard it said that when you're feeling far from God, guess who moved? Well, the answer is, it wasn't God, it was us. So I want to encourage you today to work the very hardest at staying close to God. This is not a working for our salvation, but a staying close to God because of the confidence we have in Him to keep the promises He has made according to His Word.